George, what is the reason you want to do another video as a follow-up to your original video?
In the original video, I felt very constrained in what I could and couldn't say because of the Department of Justice investigation that was held above my head. I feel that now is the perfect time to speak my mind without fear of retaliation by the President, the Attorney General, the federal government, etc.
What was the first thing that went through your mind when you heard the news that the charges were abandoned?
Initially, I was extremely alleviated. Quickly, that turned into a realization that the Department of Justice finding that there was no basis to pursue charges was just the beginning of a journey, my personal journey to correct the wrongs that the federal government did, to ensure that it never happens to any innocent American ever again.
You mentioned injustice by the federal government. Is there any sort of feeling you have after this whole journey you've been through that there has been unfairness towards you?
Absolutely. The federal government, the FBI under the Department of Justice and Eric Holder, they had gone to Sanford and interviewed in particular a Sanford sergeant who had stated in very clear terms that he did not care whether it was legal or not that I should be prosecuted because of the fear of a civil unrest in the city of Sanford. Knowing that, the Department of Justice did not investigate further to see if my civil rights were violated. They opened an investigation and reopened it to see if I had violated his civil rights. And again, they had numerous examples of bounty being placed on my head, credible threats placed against myself and my family, from who they know to be domestic terrorists. And the President and the Attorney General and the federal government declined to do anything about it.
Well, now that we're talking about this, let me just ask you, going back to the actual event that evening in Sanford, did you do anything wrong?
No, sir.
Do you have a clean conscience at this point?
Yes, sir.
And do you wish it had turned out differently?
I believe that the American judicial system failed in the sense that I should not have even gone to trial, but I do believe that the jury process succeeded, and ultimately justice was served and I was acquitted and I am a free man. I don't see, obviously if there was a different outcome then I would feel differently, but right now, the way things turned out, I'm satisfied. And with the news of the Department of Justice definitively concluding that there is no charge to be levied against me, I feel like the Department of Justice process worked.
George, how about the actual event itself? Do you wish it had turned out different?
I answered that question in my initial interview with Sean Hannity, and on different perspectives. Me as a Christian, I believe that God does everything for a purpose, and He had His plans, and for me to second guess them would be hypocritical, almost blasphemous. However, as an individual, I've done a lot of soul searching, and the conclusion that many professionals and have conveyed to me and I've come to adopt is that only in a true life or death scenario can you have mental clearness to know that you cannot feel guilty for surviving. Had I have had a fraction of a thought that I could have done something differently, acted differently, so that both of us would have survived, then I would have heavier weight on my shoulders. That sense in the back of my mind. But in all fairness, you cannot, as a human, feel guilty for living, for surviving.
Do you feel you were treated different from someone else who may have been in the same situation?
That's hard to tell. I think that there are a lot of characteristics, aspects, personality traits, personal history that was used against me erroneously. For example, my last name, carrying a Caucasian, German connotation, definitely helped them portray me as a racist white man, when in reality I am, my mother's Peruvian, my father's American, and I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, who are both fully Hispanic. So by no means was I ever portrayed as a white racist prior to this, but they used certain aspects or characteristics of my personality against me.
What was the position of the Hispanic community during all of this?
I'll tell you personally, my Hispanic community from home, Northern Virginia, was extremely supportive. I was tremendously disappointed and let down by the Hispanic Congressional Caucus. They aligned themselves with the Black Congressional Caucus and did everything that they could to, in essence, throw me under the bus. They identified with the Black Congressional Caucus and viewing me as a white racist and doing something negligent or racist, and without even knowing anything about my character.
George, you mentioned unfairness, and if you had to point to a government agency or official, who do you think brought the highest level of unfairness to your personal situation?
By far, the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama. He had the most authority, and in that sense, I would hold him in the highest regard, believing that he would hold that position and do his absolute hardest to not inflame racial tensions in America. Unfortunately, after even Jay Carney, his press secretary, stated in a White House briefing that the White House would not interject in a local law enforcement matter and at most a state criminal matter, President Obama held his Rose Garden speech stating, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. To me, that was clearly a dereliction of duty, pitting Americans against each other solely based on race. He took what should have been a clear-cut self-defense matter, and still to this day, on the anniversary of the incident, he held a ceremony at the White House inviting the Martin Fulton family and stating that they should take the day to reflect upon the fact that all children's lives matter. Well, unfortunately for the president, I am also my parents' child, and my life matters as well. And for him to make incendiary comments as he did and direct the Department of Justice to pursue a baseless prosecution, he by far overstretched, overreached, and even broke the law in certain aspects, to where you have an innocent American being prosecuted by the federal government, which should never happen.
What would you have had the president do? What would you have considered the proper response throughout the entire situation and at the end?
I think that throughout the process, the president should have done what he said he was going to do and not interject himself in a local law enforcement matter or a state matter. and waited till the facts came out instead of rushing to judgment, making racially charged comments and pitting American against American. I believe that he should have taken the higher road, given his position, and said, been an example, been a leader, as the president should be, and say, let's not rush to judgment, as I'm sure he would want that same luxury afforded to him if he was accused of something, and ask for calm, ask for peace, ask for the Martin Fulton family and their attorneys not to incite violence, and ask for calm from the entire community.
There are a lot of people who point to the fact that you've had repeated trouble after this incident, and that gives proof right there that you were wrong in what you did. How would you respond to those people?
I would ask them to put themselves in my shoes. And again, when you have a speeding ticket or a speeding infraction, any traffic citation, and it makes international news appearing all the way in the UK, you have to sit back and ask, what is the media's agenda?
Are you the same person right now that you were 5 years ago?
Absolutely not. I've had to have my guard up significantly. I have to look over my shoulder on a daily basis, several times a day. I don't get to spend time with my family, the kids I mentor. I do try and keep my ideals the same. I do try and remain pragmatic, because despite it all, I still believe that people are truly good at heart, as Anne Frank has said, and I will put myself in any position to help another human in any way I can, as evidenced by me helping the family in the SUV.
Do you ever think you will be that person again from 5 years ago?
I don't know. Truly, it's up to God, and I put it all in His hands, and I do have faith that whatever He has planned out for me is what's best for me. So whatever He's determined, whatever He's planned out for me, I'm along for the ride, and I just hope to be strong enough to see His will be done.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.